talk about the 5 players who really need a big pre-season to catch the hearts of Roberto De Zerbi. So I want you guys to let us know in the comments which 5 players do you really think need that big pre-season. I think the first 2 that really come to mind is really Will Lankshear and Mikey Moore, isn't it?
Definitely. I think, first of all, Will Lankshear, there's a lot of talk about him leaving. There's a lot of talk about maybe Tottenham accepting bids, and there's a lot of interest in him. You got to remember his trajectory. There was a lot of talk about him in the academy. Obviously, he was absolutely banging in goals for fun in the under-21s. I think he was getting 30 goals a season. He was lots of talk about him. He then goes on loan to West Brom, where he was disappointing, albeit he started off okay. And then he goes back on loan to the Championship to a lower team in Oxford, who are battling relegation. And he ends up getting 11 Championship goals at the age of 20, 21 years of age last season. So this is a striker already there's a lot of excitement about. He then goes to a Championship club and gets 11 goals. He's now 21. You look at his physical profile, he's strong, he's growing every year. He seems to be, physically getting more acclimatised. This is also a player who made his Europa League debut away at Galatasaray and scored a goal. This is also a player that every pre-season seems to get opportunities and seems to score goals whenever we play him in pre-season as well. It is very reminiscent of like Kane's trajectory when he was younger. Obviously a bit different because Kane had a lot more loans, but when you're looking at kind of the kind of player who he is, always kind of impressing without being outstanding. He kind of just impresses every time he gets these opportunities.
Am I not right in saying that Lankshear's loan last season was better than any of Kane's loans?
I think so. I think Kane, there was one, I think Millwall. I think he got Young Player of the Year at Millwall, so he did quite well at that one. But yeah, I think 11 goals is probably more than whatever Kane got in any of his loan spells, to be fair.
I'm just looking at... So Kane got 7 goals for Millwall that year and only played 17 games. So, I mean, that is a good goal return. But, yeah, that was his best loan spell. Norwich, he only played 3 games, 0 goals. Leicester played 15 games, got 2 goals. And his first one was Leyton Orient, where he got 4 goals in 15 games.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like he ever played like a full season out on loan, ever.
Yeah, so Lankshear getting 11 goals, that just goes to show how tough it is in the Championship when someone like Kane wasn't even able to do it consistently. So the reason I think it's a massive pre-season for him is because, as we said, there's a lot of talk about him leaving. There's already talks about £10 million potentially on the table to sell him. And if he can show to De Zerbi that he's a striker even capable of getting between 5 and 10 Premier League goals, off the bench or starting some games, then all of a sudden, not only can he save us a lot of money, but he could also make us a hell of a lot more money just off the back of that. We're already talking about what the market is in general, especially for attackers. If he's 10 million now, if he gets 5 Premier League goals, he's probably 20 million or 30 million. If he can get 10 Premier League goals, he's probably 40 million. Look at Delap. He got 10 Premier League goals, didn't he? And he went for 40 million or whatever it was. So I think it is massive for Lankshear to prove himself. It is a massive pre-season. If he doesn't show that he's Premier League ready or ready to make a part in our team, it'll be a decision for us to make. Do we sell him? Do we go and put him out on loan again? I would like to put him out on loan again just to keep building that value, because I think his value hasn't peaked in the Tottenham shirt just yet, and I think another loan spell is probably in the offing. But it's a massive pre-season because I do think there's a real opportunity for him to be part of the first team next season if he can prove himself.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm a big believer in Will Lankshear and his abilities. And I would love to see him part of the first team next season, because if he's part of the first team, it means he would have proved himself to Roberto De Zerbi over pre-season. He would have decided that it's better to keep him around than to loan him out. And, we're talking about bringing in someone like Junior Krupi to the club. And that will mean, like, Krupi, obviously we don't think he's that ready to play the number 9 week in, week out. So that will give him an opportunity to maybe fill in the 10, maybe go out wide a little bit. And then you've got more quality to play with throughout the starting 11 and using throughout the whole squad. And I would love to see Will Lankshear. I really would, because I think he's got the qualities, he's got the physical traits. I think he's got everything going for him. He just needs to prove himself at the top level. That's where it's at right now.
I guess the only question marks, obviously, he's only done the Championship, but also when you watch him, some people say, is he a bit stiff? Can he really battle it, mix it amongst these top defenders? Like, does he have kind of the physicality to turn on the ball and the flexibility to do all that kind of stuff, or is he a bit too robotic? Those obviously question marks.
What they said about
we
Kane.
have 100% it is, and he fixed that. Yeah, and he fixed that physically, and we saw by the time he was in the Tottenham first team, he was a different player.
But even like when he was in the Tottenham first team, he still moved very awkwardly, definitely on the turn, and when he was running, like when Kane was in the first team, when he first got the first team, the first couple of years, it felt like instead of like taking it past players, he would like stumble past players. That's what it felt like with Harry Kane, and that's why everyone was like, oh, he's just a one-season wonder. This guy's never going to make it at the top. And then obviously he just got better and better and better and refined and fixed and everything. So even if they say that about Lankshear, you know, it's stuff that he can work on and it's stuff that he can get better at.
Yeah, but those obviously the question marks. He's not guaranteed to be, you know, a player that we hope he can be. We're just, you know, you've got to look at what he needs to work on, and obviously he's got very good finishing abilities, very good physically. Is he Prem level? That's obviously what he's got to work on. But he's got an opportunity to really impress De Zerbi, and same with Mikey Moore. I think Mikey Moore had a very good loan spell at Rangers, and he obviously won one that he probably learned a lot from, because he started out the team and struggling, and then grew, became one of the main players, and ended up winning Scottish Young Player of the Year, was it, or just Rangers Young?
Yeah, Scottish Young Player.
So he ended up having a phenomenal loan spell for him. So he is obviously one, even in the Tottenham shirt, he has shown this guy has got ability, he's got quality, he's shown it in Europa League, and he's another player where he's got a real opportunity to actually be part of the first team this season if he proves himself, because there's openings there. There's openings in the 10, there's openings on left wing. Obviously, we're looking to recruit right now, but if he can show himself that he has the ability to contribute and he can actually stick around, that could save us a lot of money. And obviously, this is a player of unbelievable talent, but it's whether he's just Premier League ready, and this is a big pre-season for him.
I've got a feeling that if Mikey can kind of sway De Zerbi round and really prove himself to De Zerbi over this pre-season, then I think that's curtains for Tel. I think it really could be curtains for Tel, because obviously they're in the exact same position, albeit Mikey Moore can play a bit more on the inside, and people were saying at Rangers actually his best work actually comes in the central areas of the pitch. So it's actually up for debate where Mikey Moore's best position is at this moment in time. Is his best position out on the left wing, or is it more as a 10? We don't know just yet. They're saying his best position was like kind of that inside left. So where would that be in a De Zerbi system? Would it be the left winger, or will he move more into the 10 position?
Yeah.
That's a big thing to say, like where he's going to really flourish.
That's the thing. When it comes to the Premier League, obviously out wide you get more space, but does he have it in him in one-on-one situations to get the better of his fullback just yet? Like, does he have the pace? I think he's got the dribbling ability, but does he have the strength and the pace like, over big spaces to beat them? And then I think in the number 10, I think he's more comfortable there, but in those congested spaces when you've got big players around you, have you got the ability to hold them off and pick those passes and link play? I think maybe at low levels he does, but does he have it in the Premier League? Those are the big questions. We don't know that at the moment.
Like in the 10 though, there could be a big opportunity for him to stake a claim for a lot of minutes next season whilst these players are coming
100%.
back. 100%. Because you've got like obviously we've been through it, but Javi Simmons on the ACL, Maddison just coming back from the ACL, Conor Gallagher, is he a real 10? Is that who we want to see in the 10? So if Mikey sees himself, or if Roberto De Zerbi sees himself more in the 10 area, then there's more chance of him staying around, because we're looking to bring another winger. There is Tel there. But if he sees him more as a left winger and we're still looking to bring one in and there's Tel there, if he favours him over Tel, then yeah, fine, there's an opportunity there. But I see more of an opportunity for him in the middle areas of the pitch.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I think when it comes to him and Tel's more of a forward. I think Mikey Moore's a bit of a different position. So I don't know. I guess maybe they're linked a bit. I think what Mikey is probably battling for, I would say, is maybe he is battling to stay around for the next 6 months, because I think in 6 months' time, if Xavi's back, depending if we sign a 10 or not, and all these different, if Decky's back and he's back to his best in 6 months, then naturally, and Maddison as well, he might not be at his best for the next 6 months. So I think naturally after 6 months, even if Moore is coming and doing well, it's still going to be hard for him to find opportunities. But I think his pre-season, it could determine whether he sticks around for the beginning of the season and kind of get helps out some of those minutes in the 10, or whether he's just not good enough and goes out on loan. So another player who I think I'm going to be keeping a really keen eye on pre-season to see how he does. I'm really excited to see what he does.
I think another player that really needs to impress Roberto De Zerbi in this pre-season has got to be Archie Gray. Archie Gray, obviously we've signed 2 big midfielders in this transfer window. Archie Gray has always been filled in here, there and everywhere. Utility player. Done pretty well for us. Got our player of the year last season in a dreadful season. But as Roberto De Zerbi said, I think it was De Zerbi that said it, that, he needs to find his position and he needs to, flourish in that position. So it's going to be interesting to see where he thinks he is. Is he a 6? Is he an 8? Is he, a backup right back? Where does Archie Gray fit in next season? So it's going to be interesting to see how De Zerbi utilises him in pre-season and if he can flourish in that position.
Yeah, I think we'll learn a lot from that, because I think De Zerbi has said it himself. He needs to find his best position. And is he good enough to be one of our, options consistently in midfield? Or if Spence goes, does he convert him to a full-time fullback, knowing that he plays inverted fullback? So that could suit Archie Gray potentially anyway, even if he does play that position. So I think we are going to learn definitely where De Zerbi is playing him and how he's using him. But I definitely think Archie Gray was someone who wasn't trusted under De Zerbi, unfortunately, for the last 7 games, even though he was one of our more impressive players before that. So I think he's got something to prove for De Zerbi, that he's going to be a big player. It's a big season for him. He wants to prove himself at his natural position, but he's got to prove to De Zerbi he's good enough, especially with these big midfielders coming in, that he can take minutes off them.
Another one's got to be Matty Tel.
Yeah.
If he is still here for pre-season, which I assume he will be, obviously we're looking to make big signings in that forward line in all positions. Savinho obviously looking like it's imminent, or that he's going to be the next one through the door. So Matty Tel has got to do a lot to prove to Roberto De Zerbi that, maybe we don't need to sign another winger. I'm here and I'm going to be a big player for you next season. He came through at certain points at the back end of last season, but he needs to step it up if he's going to be a real trusted player for Roberto De Zerbi.
Yeah, I think for me, when it comes to Tel, I've got a lot of sympathy for him, but at the end of the day, you've got to just deal with bold-faced facts. And the sympathy I've got for him is, it's been a shit show ever since he's come here in terms of the club. Like, we've been in 2 relegation. He didn't come here to be in relegation battles. We've been in 2 relegation battles. He came with promises, that he's going to leave Bayern and come to Tottenham and get all these opportunities and be one of our starters. And you're coming here because we trust you. We see your talent and you're going to be one of our players. And he's playing. He came in for the first 6 months. He was pretty much playing only up front in a system which wasn't suited to him as a striker, especially with him as a teenager. And then he's played on the left wing in a very defensive system, and even then he's got opportunities and done quite well. But even when he proved himself and proved that he was doing well, he was then dropped from the team, and he was also dropped from the European squad and wasn't as trusted as he was promised when he first joined. And the team's been completely dysfunctional. But then last season he had those 7 games under De Zerbi, which I thought he did quite well in, but it wasn't quite as outstanding to prove to anyone that he's definitely going to be, trusted as much as he would like to be trusted going to next season. So I have sympathy for him, but the bold-faced facts is he hasn't shown enough to show that he's good enough to be our starting winger. I think that's just the facts. But he has shown glimpses to show that he's got talent. There's been good performances. There's been that goal against Leeds was phenomenal. He had some good moments last season in front of goal to show that the boy does have talent, and I think he does have enough talent to be in the Tottenham squad, in my opinion. But the problem for Tel is he's been here 18 months now, and if he's still not going to be trusted enough that he wants after 18 months, when will he be? And will he get those opportunities, especially if we're signing 2 wingers? So when it comes to this pre-season, it's massive for him. If he smashes it this pre-season and shows De Zerbi, I've really grown a lot more even over these last few months and in this pre-season, and me playing in an attacking system and me playing attacking football and getting these attacking positions, I can give you the output you're looking for. That'll be massive for him, and I think he's capable of really upping his output under De Zerbi. I'm really confident in that. Whether it's at the level of being, a top 4 winger or a winger, challenging for those top European spots on a consistent basis. Is he quite there yet? I'm not sure. But could he get to a stage where he's getting 5 to 10 goals a season, or 5 or even over 10 goal contributions? I think he can do it. I really believe that. But is that good enough? Or do we want another, winger option in there? That's the question mark. He's got to prove to De Zerbi he can get more consistent output, because I think that is where that's where his main strengths are. I actually think it is his output. He just hasn't shown it enough, because I don't think he's an elite dribbler. I don't think he's amazing in one-on-one situations. I think he's decent. I think it's his shooting ability, but I don't think he's got in enough situations to show it off. But I think under De Zerbi he can do. So if he's getting goal after goal in this pre-season, maybe he can prove it. But it's whether he has that big pre-season.
Yeah, look, we have to wait and see how it goes. But I kind of put Tel in the same boat as your Vuskovics and your Lucas Bergvals and your potentially Archie Grays. These kind of players who are just below what we need right now. And look, we are trying to sign wingers, and he's going to have to be the fall guy if we sign any more. So I guess watch the space in the transfer market, because if you can get a top winger to come through the doors of the club, he is going to have to probably leave. That's the reality. So he might not even get the opportunity to really impress in pre-season.
I think he will, because pre-season's next week.
Yeah, but I mean for the entirety of pre-season.
I don't think he leaves during pre-season. I think if he leaves, he'll be in August. That's the feeling I get. But we'll see.
The season, starts late August. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It all depends on who we sign at the end of the day.
I think he'll get some games in pre-season.
Yeah, he'll definitely get some games. That's for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm just not sure if it's going to be enough to sway De Zerbi's decision.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. And last but not least, there's a couple of players that you could mention here, but I kind of feel potentially Destiny. Destiny for the first time, he's got competition out on that left-hand side. So is he a threat of losing his first team spot to Andy Robertson? He's got to prove his fitness first. That's what it really comes down to, but that comes over the course of the season, doesn't really come at pre-season. So what are you feeling about Destiny? Do you think he's one that really needs to prove himself to Roberto?
I think his spot in terms of his place in the squad is certain. I don't think we're looking to sell him, because I think apparently we're looking to sell Spence over him. I think we could have kept Spence and maybe had him in competition with Robertson and sell Udogie if we really wanted to, but we're not doing that. So I think his spot is certain, but 100% that first choice left back spot is not certain. It isn't certain, because Robertson has much more experience playing in the Premier League than Destiny in terms of playing consistently at a high level. I understand he's 32 now, but next season, I think next season's a big one, because it's 1 game a week. So Robertson can probably still do it 1 game a week to a high level, and he'll back himself to do it at a higher level than Udogie. Udogie is shown to be a good fullback in the Premier League, especially when he first came. I think he hasn't quite reached the heights of those first 10 games under Ange how he was performing at that time. So his number 1 spot in the squad is definitely up for question, 100%. And Robertson is the kind of player where I don't think he needs to prove anyone anything. He's proven what kind of fullback he is, and if he's fit, what you're going to get with Robertson. So it's on Udogie to prove that he can offer more than Robertson, kind of when he's fit, and that's the big question mark for Destiny. So, yeah, I don't know if it's pre-season where he'll prove it, but yeah, I think staying fit is a massive thing for Destiny. I think. Yeah,
and that can't be proved in pre-season. That's got to be proved over the course of the season. So maybe he's not the right one that he needs to prove to De Zerbi over a pre-season. I guess another one, it could be one of the strikers. It could be a Solanke or a Richarlison.
I think those two. I think if they're both still here over pre-season, it could be a bit of a shootout, because I get the feeling we're not going to sell both. I think one of them is going to stay and we're looking to sell one. I think the priority right now is Richarlison. He's older. He's, I think, physically I don't think he's as up to it as Solanke. But Richarlison as well, since Solanke's been there, he's kind of been maybe got the better goal ratio. He's maybe been shown to be more likely to get goals than Solanke since Solanke has been at Tottenham. So I think as much as right now, Solanke is ahead of the queue, in my opinion. But also we spent big money on him not so long ago. I know Richarlison was a lot longer. So Richarlison's been here longer as well. So that plays into it. They both have had their injury issues. So there may be, you could say, on an even playing field when it comes to that. Although I guess you can say both players have shown previously at previous clubs their ability to stay fit, which is not at Tottenham. So I think it's probably leaning towards Solanke, but I do think there's a chance that could change. I do think that De Zerbi's opinion could be swayed here, because I don't think he's convinced for sure Solanke and that's it. He's made his mind up. I think Richarlison maybe still has an opportunity to change his mind, and if it's going to happen, it'll happen in pre-season.
So a big pre-season for the strikers, that's for sure.
I think it's unlikely, though. I do think it's unlikely that he'll change his mind. But I think he's probably leaning towards Solanke.
Yeah, you would say that, but I think as well, like, he's leaning towards Solanke, but even like both the players' futures are up in the air in terms of the long-term futures at the football club.
Yeah, for sure.
We're evidently looking for a striker, and that'll be to the detriment of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens. It's up to Solanke to really prove to Roberto De Zerbi that he should be his number 9. Mm-hmm. And I think he's got the traits that De Zerbi is looking for in a striker. He can cause mayhem in the box. He's a great presser. He can be a good finisher. He just hasn't shown that on a consistent basis in the Spurs shirt, mainly due to the injuries that he's had. So it's up to him to prove it now. And it's, I think Solanke I agree with you. He'd probably be the one that we'll look to keep. But on the flip side of that, he's in last chance saloon now at Tottenham. This is it for Solanke. If he doesn't prove himself this season, then we have to get rid next summer. Mm-hmm. We have to. So those are the 5 players, or a few more than 5 players, that we think need a big pre-season at Tottenham.